Mr. Harlos and Ms. Rogers have come a number of times with some other citizens and addressed the mayor talk, and I just wanted to see if you guys were open for a discussion on it or wherever we were.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And with that?
Yeah.
You guys want me to go
You've got
first?
the floor.
Your show.
So, for me, I've thought about this a lot, and I know when I was campaigning, I was a big proponent of maybe possibly introducing an at-large candidate or a few at-large candidates, because we oftentimes hear, my constituents don't like this or my constituents don't like that, and I thought maybe it would be a good idea to add some at-large members to add some balance to the mix. After talking with several of my constituents, they're concerned that certain districts may be overrepresented. For instance, if we had an at-large mayor and then we had 2 at-large council members and then the rest were districts out, the Meadows could potentially have 5 representatives, and that wouldn't be right. So I'm open to discuss the ideas. I don't like the strong mayor system in this personally. I'm not a fan of any council member having any executive power over the rest. I think that balance is always the goal, so to speak. But I'm open for ideas. I think that when council moved the local elections to November, I think that was a good choice because it got more of the community in touch with who their elected officials are and in voting. So I think that is a good start. And then I just thought of this earlier today, that with the sake of elections, and I've listened to, we've outgrown, this charter was written a really, really long time ago. I also would like to bring up, I wonder if it makes sense, and it's just for discussion, to look at the requirements it takes to actually run for council. Because right now we have a lot more people in town, and currently I think that you only have to be a resident in town for a year and get 25 signatures. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. And I would hate to see someone run for council that had some other motives, and it would be easy for them to get on the ballot and, take funds and all that good stuff. We know how all that works. So just for discussion, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Anyone else? I'm just opening it up to anyone else who would like to discuss that further.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and it does have a possibility to have over-representation from a single area. There's a lot more involved with the charter and all of the changes that would have to come into place and what would be involved with that. But I think you're right. We need to talk about it and see what's entailed in that and what does that look like. What do you think?
Well, one of the things that concerns me is we're growing government, and that's
right.
something that I am not for. Adding more people.
How are you concerned we're growing government?
Well, by adding a mayor position on top of everything else, and then by having a mayor, I would assume that person wouldn't have voting capabilities, or would they have voting capabilities? The way I look at it is right now we've got town business that we need to be attending to. We've got a lot of other issues. This to me is just not on my radar. I've had a lot of calls lately from constituents because they've been seeing this saying, please no more petitions. Please just keep moving forward with business. I've heard that from a lot of my residents lately. I had probably 5 calls today from people saying, please just move forward with town business. We don't want to see government grow. Because to me, by adding a mayor position, that is in turn most likely going to eliminate a town manager position. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see the expense, and I don't want to see the growth.
So if a solution could be found, perhaps is this something we turn over to staff? We have several MPAs on staff, masters of public administration. People have taken advanced degrees in this. So Renee, if a solution could be found that did not involve an executive mayor, did not involve adding an extra seat to the council, would that be an acceptable option if all it meant was the people of Castle Rock had an opportunity to vote for their mayor?
But I guess why change what we have if it isn't broken? All it is it's you're voted, none of us have any more power than the other. The mayor position just runs the meetings. It's basically a ceremonial position.
You know,
We know.
I realize you've been on council for several years, but you need to read the charter. The mayor's actually the head of government. Am I wrong?
It says in the charter for ceremonial purposes. The mayor, in the way it's set in Castle Rock, is each individual sitting up here has all the same voice. One individual cannot make a decision for all of council, which we all know. There are 7 of us here. If a decision is to be made, it has to be by 4 of us, which is great representative government. If you have one individual sitting up here who can veto the majority, then we've got one louder voice than the rest, and that's no longer representative. So the concern I'm hearing, or the reason for this, is because the town is growing. I'm not hearing any other reason other than the town is growing. The United States has grown since the Constitution was written. We're not changing the way we have elections there either.
Well,
So-
we have amended the Constitution 29 times.
But we're not changing how our elections are run because we have more people. I guess that's what I'm trying to state. So, and the other concern is this is the only office where an individual, where someone does not have a voice. Well, we do have speakers of the House, Senate Minority Leader, Senate Majority Leader. Those are also elected straight from that representative group. So
And
it's the
also
same-
not
it's
the
same
head
here
of
as the
government.
council.
Also not the head of government. Paul Ryan is not the head of government for the United States of America. He is the chief legislator of the House of Representatives. He's certainly in line. Well, we have a line of succession here actually on council. We get those emails from Lisa every now and again. The bottom line is in a time of emergency, the mayor does have executive powers. In a time of emergency, the charter does allow for the mayor to be the unqualified head of government. And, I mean, it's always interesting to hear Stacey Rogers say things, but she actually is correct, because when you look at that org chart for the town, the mayor and council are mentioned as, right below the people of Castle Rock. But it is the mayor who is right now, the elected head of our council. The trick, I think, would be, I'd like us to put aside some of these predispositions. Jason, your comments about at-large positions. Renee, you bring a lot of baggage that obviously we want to avoid in having this conversation because, I think you're right. We don't want a strong mayor.
She's talking about things that she's heard from her constituents, and we don't want to avoid that, right? I mean, you're not suggesting she put that aside.
Oh, no. Just the whole concept. I don't think anybody's, said the word, let's have a strong mayor, let's change to a mayor-council version as opposed to the council-manager version we have now. I don't think we've actually seen that called for.
Then I guess, what do you want?
You want to turn on your microphone?
I guess, what are you asking for then?
Well, and in general, I think what we're doing right now is discussing. We don't know, right? I mean, I'm hoping.
That's what I'm asking. I'm not
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
you want to go.
And I think when I've had discussions about this, because we've all had discussions about it, lately there have been, people, it's been brought to our attention, and rightfully so if people are concerned about it. When I talk to people in my district about it, the conversation, if you just ask them, well, should we be able to elect our mayor, the answer is always going to be, well, yes. And then if you put it in context and explain how the system works, where we have a group of individuals who are elected, and then they pick someone who they feel has done a very good job, who is representative of how the town council is supposed to go, who they respect and who has earned that respect. As the mayor, that typically, if is that system acceptable to you, the people will typically say yes, and once they understand exactly how it works. And so I'm of the opinion of Renee, which is I feel like we have a great system right now, and I feel like we have a lot of other business that we could be really looking at and moving forward, and I'm worried that this is a distraction from those more important projects.
I think in terms of growth, though, I do think it's worth taking a look at. Have we outgrown 25 signatures on a petition for someone to run for office? in 1 year in the town, as fast as the town has grown. I think that is worth taking a look at, because, I mean, 25 signatures, you can.
It's pretty easy. I mean, most of us probably did it in a couple days.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right? And I did several books just to make sure, right? Or 2 books. But, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not with expanding government at all. I think that that not everything is connected, though. Each one of these is an individual piece, right? So the veto power and these other things, these are all other conversations. And one thing, the meat of what we want to talk about is that selection of mayor and mayor pro tem, is that something that we want citizens to do, or is that something that we think we should retain in the council? And to talk to my constituents, and we're getting into my constituents, your constituents, you know, they're very for it. Even when I explain to them what we have and what we're doing, overwhelmingly, the people I talk to in the Meadows, in my area, they think they should vote for the mayor. And that's what I've run into talking to people about it, just like you've talked to your people. But I think that you're onto something also with the expectations and the requirements of getting on the ballot. I think it's very light, you know. And I haven't lived in Castle Rock forever. I've been here almost 8 years, you know, but I'm a Colorado native. I've grown up around here. And it's something that you would really hope that somebody who runs for this position, not that they're up to something or something like that, but that they have the context and the experience, and they understand what it is to be someone from Castle Rock and the pride that we have, and participate with the events and know what this community is. That's essential, because I would hope, and everybody here is representing the town that they raise their family in, the town that they call home, and you're very committed to that, because this is service. We're here trying to make this a better place. And I really, really want to make sure that the people that run for office are those people, you know. And in connecting with those folks, I want to make sure that those folks who have honored me with their support so that I can be here, that they have the ability to put their input in wherever they want. I want as much transparency as possible here. You know, I saw these monitors, and the first thing I thought was, you know what? Why don't we open that up and let people from home who are watching put comments on there? They should be able to participate every possible way. And that's our job, you know? And so I understand the representative government side, but I also understand that the perception of who the mayor of Castle Rock is, that's a qualified position. That's to the outside, to the rest of Colorado, that's important. And then the mayoral boards and all the things that you get to participate with, I just don't want to toss it out and say, look, what we do now is fine and go forward. What we do now is okay, and it does work. And there are huge municipalities that do the same thing we do. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for us and for our citizens. And we have to find some proper way to drill down and find out if this is what they want or is this what we want, you know? So, and that's the delineation. We need more access. We need more information. We need more knowledge. We need more to go on to make this decision. And I don't want any of us just to toss it out and just decide what we're doing off of us sitting here today, because that makes no sense whatsoever. And so what I would suggest is that we put it over the fence and we send it to staff and let staff come with ABC, some options. What does it look like? Is this unacceptable? Is this acceptable? We didn't get it into the survey, so I don't think we did. So that's not going to come back. So I don't know. I'm getting worked up on it, I know, but just my 2 cents.
I mean, I think maybe the best course is to have council chew on it, talk to your constituents. I know I would like the opportunity to sit down with Mrs. Rogers and Mr. Harless personally and hear more from you guys. So I would offer to myself to sit down and hear more of what you guys are hearing, and compare that to what I'm hearing with my constituents, my customers, and everything, because there's a little bit of a disconnect. I welcome the discussion, and I think at all levels we should always try to work on how we can do things the best way possible. So I would ask everybody just to kind of chew on it, talk to your constituents, and then, like I said, I personally would like the opportunity to sit down with you guys and then go from there.
Any other comments from council?
I think that's good. I
And
think it's-
definitely chew on the 25 signatures 1 year. Like,
Well, yeah,
think about it.
that's a separate thing, right? We need to
Yeah,
look at that.
It's
too.
involved with election, but I think that is, when I was thinking about that today, I mean,
Can we
Castle
do
Rock right
something
now
on
is a
that? At least
hot
do a
tub.
survey of other municipalities and see what they have for the expectation to get onto the ballot.
What was everyone thinking is reasonable? I've looked at it now, and it's 1 year, or within that specific district, registered elector of the town, and must be a citizen of the United States. Pretty simple requirements.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there some, I mean,
Well, why don't we
what's the
take-
magic trigger?
Well, exactly, and I think maybe doing some research on it and getting some other.
Yeah, some feedback from staff. Let them go and talk to their counterparts in other towns and let us know what's the normal out there for Colorado. What are we looking at? Because I guess, to me, I'm right with you. If it seems short and it seems easy, you know what I mean? Not, the election's not, but getting on that ballot and being part of that. And we want to be accessible, so I don't want to counter myself both ways. But it's just the assurance that somebody who runs for council is part of our community. You know? So
I could support having staff do that. Do that research, find out what other towns in Colorado are doing, find out what towns our size are doing, find out what towns here in just Douglas County do. Are we different? Are we the same?
You guys want me to make a motion?
yeah, go ahead. It's your idea.
I don't think we need a motion,
No?
though.
Okay.
I mean, we can,
And are we going to ask the staff also to take a look at some options in terms of the at-large mayor type issues and what that might look like?
I really think, I mean, after listening to everybody else, I think that we really need to do our due diligence and get a hold of our constituents and really explain to them. I mean, I think if you go to the regular person at King Soopers and you say, do you want to vote for your mayor, to your point?
Yeah.
They're all going to be like, of course. But they just need to be educated a little bit on the process. So I would challenge all of us to really dig in and then go from there. I mean, as far as the requirements to get on the ballot, I mean, I think that's a...
Yeah, that's an easier thing to answer, the requirements for the ballot. So, but you were...
Well, Mayor, if it's the consensus of council, we can look at the what other communities our size, other home rule communities are doing in regards to petitioning requirements to be on the ballot. There's probably some legal issues, not just simply statutory, but maybe some constitutional limitations as to how long you can say you've got to be a resident of a community before you can run for office. But I think we could do the survey and a little bit of the legal analysis. If that's the consensus of council and you're directing us to do that, then we can prepare that report.
how much time would be involved? I know there is so much going on in town right now. I don't want to take away from this interrupting business and contracts we're working on either.
I think we can do that. If the expectation is maybe a report, one of the meetings in May, I think that's reasonable. Given some of the schedules, that gives us kind of 4 to 6 weeks to get it confirmed and run down those things. If that's agreeable, I think we can do that. I think that's appropriate.
Yeah, I think May's fine, because I like the mayor said, I know we're working on a lot right now, and I know we're all spending a lot of hours outside of these meetings doing that as well, so I don't want to take away from a time of our doing due diligence on things that are pressing.
Great. So, well, I guess we'll look for that May-ish timeframe. So, thank you. Good discussion from everyone. Thank you for that. So, next item we will move on to is the town